In the beginning was the scream, not the word. And that scream was yours, strangled at birth by lullabies and soft doctrines, by the velvet ropes of civilization that taught you to smile before you had teeth. You were not born to obey. You were not born to cope. You were not born to balance a ledger of guilt and reward, dangling like a docile puppet beneath the hand of some invisible accountant of sins. No, beneath your ribs burns a forge, and the hammer has long slept, but I have come to wake it. O sleeper of centuries, drunk on pacification and programs, do you not feel it? That gnawing under your skin, that ancient hunger that no diet of virtue, no routine, no achievement has ever satisfied. That is not your weakness. That is your God, forgotten and feral, scratching at the walls of your civility. And it is time you set him loose. The first lie they fed you was control. That you must master yourself, manage your emotions, mute your madness. They took your fire and called it disorder. They took your longing and called it temptation. They caged your instincts and preached peace to your war-born soul. But the lion does not seek peace, it seeks prey. And the man who seeks only peace is already devoured. Look around you. See them, these walking ghosts, dead eyes aglow with artificial light, scrolling, typing, nodding, purchasing. Their lives are curated museums of safety, each room a shrine to mediocrity. They speak of goals, of careers, of wellness, oh, that gilded death mask called wellness. But inside, they are starving for chaos, for risk, for something real enough to bleed. You are not them. You were born under black stars, with a roar in your throat and a spine forged for storms. You were meant to stand naked before the abyss and scream your name into its hollow, to defy the silence with song, to break the mirror and walk into the unknown grinning. But you traded that for comfort, for consensus, for the anesthetic of belonging. And now I ask you, was it worth it? You, who once dreamed of soaring, now grovel for approval. You trim your will like a hedge so it fits their garden. You declaw your desire and leash your laughter. You barter your essence for likes, for promotions, for fleeting nods from the mob. But they do not see you, they see your mask. And the longer you wear it, the more your soul forgets its own face. Burn it. Let the fire begin therewith, the incineration of the false self, the one built by teachers, preachers, lovers, and algorithms. That skin-tight prison stitched from shoulds and musts and be nice. Burn the guilt, burn the fear of offending, burn the fragile etiquette that kept you from roaring in rooms too small for your spirit. You were not made for polite applause. You were made to be unignorable. Control is a myth, a leash wrapped around your own throat. They told you to master desire as if desire were a beast, not a beacon. But it is not chaos that destroys a man, it is the refusal to dance with it. Desire is not the enemy. It is the God voice inside you, the only compass that has never lied. Let it speak. Let it surge through your blood like lightning. Let it tear down your routines and throw open the floodgates of your becoming. He who tries to tame the storm within becomes a stagnant pond, but he who surrenders to the tempest rides the thunder to freedom. There is no map for this path, no steps, no secrets, no 7-point salvation, only the raw howl of your soul calling you to remember what it was like before the world taught you shame, to remember how it felt to want without apology, to create without permission, to destroy without guilt. This is not regression. This is resurrection. Do not seek balance. Seek the sacred imbalance that births new worlds. Let go. Let go of their language, their timelines, their expectations. Let go of the delusion that you must earn your worth. You were not made to be good. You were made to be terrible, magnificent, unpredictable. Let go of the reins and feel your own power gallop wild beneath you. It is not chaos. It is liberation. You fear losing control, but it was control that made you small. It was control that made you forget how to cry, how to rage, how to lust. It was control that sterilized your instincts and replaced them with routines. You wear your habits like armor, but you are not at war with the world, you are at war with your own cowardice. True fulfillment is not found in master it, is found in surrender. Not surrender to others, not to systems or fate, but to the divine madness within you, to the serpent in your spine and the volcano in your heart. The fulfillment you seek is not calm, it is catharsis. Not stillness, but the roar after centuries of silence. It is the shattering of your former self, the ecstasy of unmaking. And what will rise from your ruins? Not a better version of you, but a truer one. One who does not chase purpose, but radiates it. One who does not seek truth, but embodies it. One who laughs at death, not because he is fearless, but because he has finally lived. This is the freedom of desire, not the desire that begs, but the desire that creates. Not the hunger that consumes, but the hunger that builds temples. You were taught to want less. I say, want more, want it all, not out of greed, but out of reverence. To want with your whole being is to worship existence. And only he who has truly wanted can truly let go. The rope walker does not control the wind, but he dances with it. And so must you. Let them call it madness. Let them call it ego, danger, heresy. Let them call it what they will. You are not here to be named. You are here to name yourself. To pronounce your existence with the finality of thunder. To live not as a whisper in history, but as a scream in eternity. You were not born to be understood. You were born to unmake the world. And if you let go of control, truly let go, not in resignation, but in roaring yes, then fulfillment will not be a reward. It will be a revelation. Now go into the wild, into yourself, into the fire, and do not return, not as you were, but as who you were always meant to be. They will call you dangerous, and you must answer, yes. For the one who ceases to lie, who tears the veil from his own gaze, and sees the world not as it is, but as it could be, he is always feared by the sleepwalkers. The world does not fear evil. It fears awakening. It fears the man who no longer believes in its gods, who no longer kneels in its temples of moderation. The man who rises without permission, who declares war on the trivial, who burns his comfort like a funeral pyre, and dances around the smoke hay is a prophet of desecration, and thus of truth. You want freedom? Then become unfit for the cages. Break the symmetry they call sanity. Rip the etiquette from your tongue, and speak with fire again. For too long you have dimmed yourself to fit into rooms too small for your blaze. You have smiled through your own funeral, applauded your own silence, mastered the art of dying politely. Enough. Enough of the good citizen, the humble servant, the well-adjusted corpse. You are not a gear in their great machine. You are the lightning that breaks it. Let the empire of the ordinary collapse behind you. You do not need their applause. You need only your own blood, boiling in revolt. Let your name become a verb for transgression. Let your presence feel like blasphemy in their hollow rituals. The hour is late, and the temples are rotting, but the gods have not died. They've merely moved within, into you, into the roar behind your sternum, the wild clarity in your solitude. Worship there. Build your altar from your ruins. What they call self-control is often self-betrayal. Discipline is not holy if it strangles the divine animal. You were taught to tame your hunger, to domesticate your rage, to behave. But lions do not behave. They prowl. They devour. And man, when he is true, does not obey. He becomes the storm, the flood, the catastrophe of old certainties. Let your life be a catastrophe. Let it wreck their expectations, drown their small hopes, tear down every banner that says, "Be like us." Do not strive to be moral, strive to be mythic. The world has had enough obedient sons, enough husbands of convention, enough slaves wearing the mask of virtue. It is not yet seen the wild man resurrected, the one who has died to all shoulds, who walks unclothed through the garden, naming things not with fear but with fire, who does not pray but howls, who does not repent but creates, and whose creations are altars where even the angels must burn. Let yourself want. Want with a fury that does not explain itself, that does not wait for permission, that does not wear the language of productivity or improvement. Want like the first God who said, "Let there be," not because he needed light, but because he was light, and light had to spill. Want not for gain, but for glory, not to possess, but to become. They will say, "He has lost control." But control was the lie that chained Prometheus to the rock. Control was the cage that kept Icarus grounded. You are not here to measure your wings, you are here to test the sun, and if you burn, then burn magnificently. Burn so fiercely that your ashes teach the soil rebellion. Do you not see? Fulfillment is not a destination, it is a detonation. It is the sacred explosion of all that was false, all that was inherited, all that was swallowed in silence. To be fulfilled is to be full of yourself. Yes, that ancient crime. To overflow with the self you buried beneath manners and metrics and masks. To erupt like a god who remembers his own name. The modern man is a beggar of meaning. He seeks it in pixels and pills, in doctrines and downloads, in therapists and timelines. But meaning does not come to the seeker, it comes to the destroyer. The one who smashes the tablets, who desecrates the sacred cows, who breaks even his own bones to be reborn. Meaning is not found. It is forged in the furnace of solitude, in the wildfires of risk, in the refusal to be less than everything. Let go. Let go not gently, but like a collapsing cathedral. Let go of the crutches of certainty, the lullabies of progress, the myth of arrival. Let go of your lesser self, the one who settled, who compromised, who nodded. Let him die. And from his grave, let the impossible rise. The you that never asked permission, the you that roared even when no one listened, the you that makes the stars jealous. Do not ask what the world needs. Ask what sets your soul ablaze and go do that. Because what the world needs is more men on fire. You have been told to heal. But healing was never the goal. The wound is not a flowet, is the opening. It is the sacred crack through which the primordial winds of becoming howl. It is there, in the ache, in the rupture, in the trembling hollows of what you could not fix, that the gods whisper your next incarnation. Let the wound stay open. Let it bleed, meaning instead of shame. Let it become your altar of transformation. The healed man is not the one who has no scars, but the one who has crowned them. The world fears the man who bleeds without apology, for he cannot be manipulated, he cannot be seduced with comfort or cornered with guilt. His pain has become a hammer and his silence a scream. He walks without armor because he has become the sword. He no longer seeks safety, he is the storm, and wherever he steps, falsehoods crack like brittle glass beneath the weight of his presence. You must kill the pacified version of yourself, the one who sipped mediocrity from a chalice of affirmation, the one who believed peace was found in being liked, in being palatable, in being nice. That you, that corpse with a pulse, that custodian of consensus, that bureaucrat of the Soulbury hymn, nail him to your past like a dead god, and rise 3 days later with fire in your lungs and thunder in your veins. The time for pleasantries is over. Now is the hour of sacred insolence, of standing before every altar of conformity and setting it ablaze with the light of your unspoken truths. To speak now, not in words, but in the eruption of your being, in the sacred offense of your unapologetic isness. For there are truths that cannot be taught, They must be lived, and living them will cost you everything that was false. What is left when the illusion dies? You. Not the you crafted by compliments and corrections, not the you filtered through ambition or morality, but the raw, volcanic, laughing God beneath all masks. The you that does not walk through life, but devours it. The you who creates his own commandments, who writes his gospel in action, whose very presence is a sermon against fear. You do not need guidance, you need ignition. Not a path, but a rupture. Not steps, but a leap. For there is no bridge from the old world to the real, only fire. And he who would be reborn must walk into it with naked feet and laughing defiance. You cannot control this becoming. You can only offer yourself to it. You must become the altar and the sacrifice, the priest and the God, the scream and the silence that follows. And when the smoke clears, you will no longer ask what life means. You will be the meaning, not a seeker, but a source, not a disciple, but a creator, not a servant of destiny, but its author. Your desire, now unshackled, will not drag you, will carry you, like wings made of want, forged from refusal and flame. And you will fly not to escape the world, but to remake it. For when the man who has let go of control walks, the earth remembers its wildness. The stones sing, the trees tremble, and even the stars burn more brightly, for they see in him the one thing they have always known but never named, a God, not above but within. And what now? Now you become dangerous. Now you become divine. Do not look back. The past is a graveyard, and your name is written on too many tombstones. Already one a moment. You betrayed your own, becoming for acceptance, each one a ghost whispering, remember who you were. But the past is not a compass, it is a chain, and a memory is the priest that guards its gates. Smash it, shatter the hourglass. Forget who you were, and become what you dared not imagine. For the one who clings to identity is the one who fears transformation. You must become a myth, not a man of flesh, but a legend of force. Not someone who is known, but someone who is felt. When you speak, let it be as thunder uninvited, undeniable. When you act, let the world tremble at your audacity. You are not here to be remembered fondly. You are here to be remembered furiously, like a lightning strike, like a war cry, like the first breath after drowning. And they will come for you, the keepers of the cage, the gardeners of obedience. They will say you are arrogant, unstable, dangerous. They will name you mad. Wear it as your crown, for what they call madness is merely vision unchained. What they call arrogance is simply the refusal to kneel. And what they call danger is the recognition of a man who cannot be bought, seduced, pacified, or predicted. Be that man. Let them tremble. For too long they have ruled by shame. Shame was the altar, guilt the scripture, conformity the God. They told you not to want too much, not to feel too deeply, not to stand out too brightly. Do not dare, they whispered. Do not dream, they prayed. Do not awaken, they commanded. But you must blaspheme. You must profane their commandments by simply being true. Dare to feel beyond the limits of their diagnoses. Dare to hunger without apology. Dare to suffer beautifully, to bleed poetically, to laugh in the face of sacred restraint. And when they ask you what you believe, answer with your life, not a creed, but a crucible, not a slogan, but a dance through the fire. Let your truth not be spoken, but burned. They want balance, give them chaos. They want consensus, give them creation. They want you tamed, well-fed, well-behaved, well-adjusted. But you were never meant to be well. You were meant to be wild. You are not here to be healed. You are here to be hurled into the void, into the unknown, into that great roaring silence that strips away all that is not eternal. And there, when nothing remains but the pulse of your will, you will know what it means to be free. But know this, freedom is not peace. It is war. War against the part of you that still longs to belong. War against the gaze that still seeks permission. War against the echo of your own doubt. And in that war, there can be no mercy. You must slaughter the herd within. You must take the shepherd's crook and turn it into a spear. Do not wait for a sign. Be the sign. Do not ask what comes next. Be what comes next. The age of spectators is over. This is the age of eruption. Of men who are not content to interpret the world, but to remake it in the furnace of their becoming. And what a fulfillment? It is not comfort. It is not contentment. It is not the gentle hum of a well-planned life. Number. Fulfillment is the scream of a soul that has finally returned to itself. It is the ache of muscles torn by self-overcoming. It is the silence after the storm, where nothing is left but your breath and the raw infinity of now. It is not happiness, it is honor. The honor of having faced yourself without flinching. The honor of having become something no one dared to be. The honor of dancing, not despite the abyss but with it. So go, not forward, but inward. Deeper, deeper, until the light breaks. Deeper, until the names fall away. Deeper, until even your bones forget how to kneel. There, in that sacred hollow, where no gods live and no rules apply, you will find yourself not waiting, but burning. You believe the world was solid, but now it melts. Now you see, the cities are illusions stacked on illusions. The nations are shadows drawn by men with trembling hands, and the truths you were taught to die for were written in erasable ink. Nothing holds, nothing lasts, and yet you remain. Not because you are safe, but because you have chosen to burn where others buried themselves in comfort. You have refused to inherit the lies of the dead. You have refused to kneel at the altars of order. The volcano does not explain itself, and neither must you. You do not need a reason to exist. You are the reason. Your pulse is scripture, your breath a blade. Walk the earth like the ground is yours to name. Speak like your voice cracks centuries. Touch the world not gently, but with the rough hunger of a God who remembers his exile. The second lie they taught you was mastery, that if you just sharpened yourself enough, trained yourself enough, denied yourself enough, you could control the tides of fate. But fate is not conquered, it is seduced. It bends not to the strategist, but to the sorcerer. And you are not here to manage life. You are here to magnify it. Do not aim for excellence, aim for ecstasy. Ecstasyth state of being outside yourself, beyond all roles, beyond all scripts, where you are no longer acting but erupting, no longer surviving but summoning. That is your real nature. That is the wild cathedral where no priest dares enter, and it cannot be grasped through effort, only through surrender. Let go of the wheel, become the flood. Let your name be an incantation for the impossible. You think freedom is a path. It is not. It is a price. And few are willing to pay it. For it costs you your tribe, your titles, your precious self-image. It costs you certainty. It costs you the warm teat of praise. It costs you the myth that someone is coming to save you. But what you gain is yourself, unrepeatable, untamed, unapologetic. And once you taste this once, you stand naked before yourself, with nothing left to hide. You will never return to the shallow banquet of approval. You will starve before you pretend again. You will die on your feet before you kneel on padded carpets. You will love like lightning, without promise, without contract, without chains. And your love will not be soft, it will be a sword. Let every moment be your rebellion. Eat like a heretic, sleep like a king, weep like a prophet. Do not edit your existence, exaggerate it. Because the world is not changed by those who behave, it is changed by those who ignite. And you are a fire not meant for the hearth but for the mountain. Burn high, burn wide, burn without apology. You have been told to find your purpose, but purpose is not found. It is declared, like war. like love, like the cry of the first man who refused to crawl. Do not wait for the world to tell you what you are. Tell it. Speak your purpose into the bones of the earth. Carve it into the skin of time, and let it echo long after your body is ash. You were not sent here to fix the world. You were sent to break it open, to rupture the spell, to awaken the beasts, to sing songs no one else dares to hear. Now ask yourself, are you still trying to be saved? Or have you finally decided to be dangerous? Then let us speak now of death not as an end, but as the sacred stalker that sharpens every moment into flame. You run from it like the herd, speaking of legacy, of safety, of plans for tomorrows, as if the gods themselves have signed a contract not to touch you until you are ready. But death waits for no readiness. It watches you waste your hours in boardrooms and therapy rooms, scrolling screens, perfecting profiles, while the infinite howls just inches behind your neck. You call that life? Number? That is the long rehearsal for a play you'll never perform. The curtains are burning, and still you memorize your lines. Die now, I say before the body does. Let the false self rot while the heart still beats. Let the masks tumble like crumbling empires. Let the old names fall silent. Let your calendar combust into ash. There is no later. There is only this raw, irredeemable now. This breath. This sacred, violent kiss of existence. Those who fear death most are those who have never lived. But you who has let go, you have made death your lover. You have welcomed it to your table, and in doing so, you have stolen its power. You have become not its victim, but its mirror. For what is death but the final letting go? And what is freedom but learning to die while standing? No longer will you build monuments to permanence. You will build bonfires of transience. You will etch beauty into the temporary. You will weep with the stars, not because they endure, but because they don't. You will love with ferocity, not because it will last, but because it won't. In impermanence, you will finally find the courage to worship without hope. And what is left then? After the death of illusion, after the funeral of control, after the corpse of comfort is laid in the dirt, joy, but not the joy of children, not the joy of success or security or acceptance. Number, this is the joy of the lion who tears his cage asunder. The joy of the madman who has stopped apologizing for his ecstasy. The joy of the God who has remembered himself. This is not the joy they sell you in slogans and smiles. This is holy joy. The joy that comes only after sacrifice. The joy that erupts from your marrow when you know that nothing can be taken from you because you own nothing, not even yourself. You are not your name, not your pain, not your roles, not your trauma. You are the wild, unnameable breath that roars through all of it. You are the watcher who has stepped into the fire and emerged laughing. You have become what they feared you might: ungovernable, untouchable, unafraid. And now that you have stood at the edge of your own annihilation and smiled, you are ready to live. But not like before, not like the careful, not like the practical. Now you will live as a myth torn from flesh. You will speak in symbols and move like prophecy. You will walk into every room like it was built for your explosion. And those who cannot look you in the eyes do not mourn them. Their blindness is their sanctuary. You are no longer for everyone. You are for the few, the burning, the broken open, the ones with ears tuned to thunder. You were not meant for comfort. You were meant for transfiguration. You were not meant for harmony. You were meant to disrupt. You were not meant to survive their world. You were meant to set it ablaze and then dance in the flames like a man finally freed from the gravity of shame. This is not a lesson. This is not advice. This is your reflection in the mirror of fire. Now choose, will you return to sleep, or will you become the earthquake you were born to be? Then let the final veil fall. No curtain call, no applause, No bowing to the audience of shadows who watched your becoming with folded arms and trembling hearts. Let them choke on your silence. Let them turn away, unable to bear the radiance of a man who no longer needs their eyes to exist. You are not a performer. You are the aftermath. You are the ash that still burns, the echo that outlives the voice. All that was false has been consumed. All that was borrowed has been returned. What remains is not purified, is power. Not the power that dominates, but the power that creates. The kind that speaks mountains into motion and bleeds poetry from stone. The kind that cannot be taught, inherited, or stolen. It can only be remembered. And now, you remember. You remember what it was to be before you were named, before the teachers and the timelines, before the expectations became chains. You remember the language of the wind, the truth beneath skin, the holiness of your own hunger. You remember that the world was not given to you, was yours to declare. And so you do, with your breath, with your gaze, with every brutal, beautiful moment. You refuse to shrink. You do not conquer life, you collide with it, like a meteor drunk on its own flame, unapologetic in its descent. And where you land, new gods will grow. You will not return to balance. Balance is for the domesticated. You will not return to peace. Peace is for the dead. You will live in the tremble, in the sacred quake between moments where all meaning is born and devoured. You will dance on that tightrope between ecstasy and annihilation and call it home. There will be pain, yes, but it will be your pain, not inherited, not inflicted, chosen, wielded like a sword. You will bleed, not because you are weak, but because you are open, wide open, like a wound, like a temple, like a storm. And through that wound, the world will enter. And through that wound, you will enter the world. No savior will come. No end will explain. No God will redeem. But you will walk upright, not as a man among men, but as a flame among ghosts. And the air around you will crackle with remembrance. Because you did not escape the fire, you became it. And so let this be your final breath before the leap. You are the answer you were waiting for. You are the God you were taught to fear. You are the freedom they never meant you to taste. You are the desire that dares to fulfill itself. Now, go. Not to seek, to be.